"Don't move!" The shout ripped through the warm afternoon like a knife. The man's hand shook as he pointed a gun, his voice rough and full of rage. People around the street screamed and ran, feet pounding the pavement like thunder. But one woman didn't move. She stood frozen in place, her eyes wide with fear, a bright orange dress clinging to her as if even the fabric knew something was wrong. Then Jalen moved. No one saw him coming. One second he was standing near the food cart, and the next he was racing across the sidewalk like his feet barely touched the ground. A loud bang echoed through the street. Pain hit him like fire, exploding through his shoulder as he shoved the woman to the side. Everything slowed. Jalen's knees buckled, his world tilted. The last thing he saw was the woman's terrified face looking down at him. Her mouth moved, but he couldn't hear her. Blood soaked through his sleeve, dark and spreading like a blooming flower. Then, everything went black. Light stung Jalen's eyes like tiny needles. He blinked, confused. The ceiling above him was white and blurry. His body felt heavy, and his right arm was wrapped tight in a cast. He tried to sit up, but a soft voice stopped him. "You're alive," the voice whispered, smooth and warm like honey. Jalen turned his head slowly. The woman from the street, the one in the orange dress, was sitting by his bed. Her eyes were shiny, like she'd been crying, but she smiled as soon as she saw him awake. For a second, Jalen didn't speak. Everything felt strange, like a dream. He remembered the loud bang, the pain, her face. "You saved my life," she said, her hand gently resting near his. Jalen wanted to speak, but his throat was dry. He wasn't sure what to say. He had survived, but deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. Before the shooting, no one really noticed Jalen. He was quiet, kept to himself, and worked long hours as a mechanic. His hands were always covered in grease, and his heart was wrapped in caution. Life had taught him early not to expect much. Being kind didn't pay the bills, and hope just led to disappointment. His apartment was small. His paycheck barely covered rent. He didn't go out much, and his phone stayed quiet most nights. The only family he had was a scruffy stray cat named Shadow who waited for him at the door every evening. Jalen didn't dream big. He fixed cars, came home, fed his cat, and went to sleep. That was his routine. No drama, no surprises. But everything changed the moment he saw her, the woman in the orange dress, frozen in fear, with danger racing toward her. Something inside Jalen snapped, and that's when his quiet life ended. After the shooting, Jalen's face was suddenly on every news channel. People called him a hero, but he didn't feel like one. All he wanted was peace and quiet, but that didn't happen. Naomi, the woman he saved, refused to leave his side. She stayed at the hospital day and night. "You saved me," she said again and again, gently touching the bandages on his arm. "Now let me help you." She brought him homemade food, laughed at his terrible jokes, and looked at him like he was someone special. Jalen wasn't used to that. He didn't know what to do with all this attention. But help came with problems, too. The man who shot Jalen wasn't just a random criminal. He was Naomi's ex. Angry, dangerous, and still out there. Now Jalen wasn't just healing from a bullet wound. He was caught in something much bigger than he ever expected. At first, Jalen thought things might go back to normal. But he was wrong. One night, he came home and found a message scratched into his apartment door. "You're next." His stomach dropped. Naomi looked scared too. Her hands shook as she admitted the truth. "He won't stop," she whispered. "He's coming for both of us." Jalen didn't know what to say. He wasn't a cop. He wasn't a fighter. He was just a mechanic who got caught in something dangerous. Every night he checked the windows and locked the doors twice. Naomi tried to keep things normal. She still brought food and smiled at him, but behind her eyes, Jalen saw the fear. And deep inside, he asked himself over and over, "Why did I do it? Why take a bullet for a stranger?" But he already knew the answer, because it felt right, even if now everything felt wrong. One evening, Jalen sat across from Naomi in his tiny living room. She looked nervous, like she was holding back something. "I was going to take it to the police," she whispered, "but they found out. That's why he came after me. And now, you." Jalen sat in shock. He wasn't just in danger because of a random act of kindness. He was part of something huge, and he was the only one Naomi trusted to protect the evidence. "I need your help," she said, her eyes full of fear. And for the first time in his life, Jalen felt truly needed. It was past midnight when Jalen heard a sound outside, a crunch of glass. Then, bam! His front door flew open. The shooter had found them. Jalen's heart pounded as he grabbed Naomi and pulled her behind the car parked outside. His arm, still weak from the first gunshot, screamed in pain. The gunman laughed in the dark. "Play hero again, huh?" he mocked. Jalen was no fighter. He had never been in a real fight. But fear gave him strength. He looked around and spotted a rusty metal pipe. His fingers wrapped around it. He didn't run, he charged. The shooter didn't expect it. Jalen swung hard. Crack! The gun dropped and slid across the pavement. Naomi dove for it. Her hands didn't shake this time. She pointed it straight at the man. "Enough," she said, and fired. The night went silent. Then came the sound of sirens, and Jalen collapsed, breathing hard.